Hello and welcome to episode 95 of This Week in Germany. We'll be bringing the world to Germany and Germany to the world with news for the week beginning the 26th of October 2015. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Rob. Each week we feature stories from the news, society, and culture in the English language. If you want to find out more, including ways to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, head over to our website, thisweekingermany.de. Okay, that was it's been an interesting week this week, especially this morning as we're recording this on a Sunday. Last night was the time change for daylight savings time is ending, so that means we fall back an hour, which means we got an extra hour of sleep last night, which was pretty nice.
Yeah, and I woke up and all of my clocks had changed on the computer and phone and everything like that. And I didn't know that the clocks went back last night when we were recording this on Saturday night. And I woke up and I was like, I feel like I've been awake for hours and yet it's only 10 a.m. And I looked at my watch and I was like, no, it's 11:30. What? Because my watch didn't change itself because it's just a normal watch. So, yes, we've got lots coming up for you in this episode of This Week in Germany. Rob, would you like to start? What have you got for us?
Well, I'm excited about the Destination Germany, which I'm always excited about Destination Germany. We're going to go back to the city of Ulm. Ulm, yes.
Ulm.
We've already covered it once, but I found a new little hidden gem there that I have not talked about in a previous Destination Germany, so I'm very excited to talk about that. It is the Museum of Bread Culture, all about bread.
Germany loves its baking products, and if you go to any German city or town, you will find that there is an astonishing amount of bakeries around every single corner. Germany does love its baked goods and often makes very high-quality bread products as well. So,
very delicious. Yeah,
this should give you some kind of insight into German baked food culture.
I'm going to tell you about our German of the Week, who is Markus Rehm. He participates in the Paraplegic Olympics right now.
Paraplegic? Paralympic.
Paralympics.
Yes.
He participates in the Paralympics right now because he is missing one leg, but he is a world record holder, and now he has broken his own record.
And yes, we got lots of news in brief, as always. So
I think one of the big crazy things that happened is when earlier this week the Prime Minister of Israel said that the Holocaust may not have happened exactly how the rest of the world pretty much knows it happens, and is blaming Palestine, a Palestine leader at the time, for influencing Hitler on what to do with the Jewish population in Germany.
Yeah, and that led to a very strange press conference in which Angela Merkel had to reaffirm Germany's responsibility for the Holocaust, which was a very surreal moment. Yes, but we're going to start with a topic which we haven't done for a little while, but we've been forced by the news agenda to come back to because it's something you just cannot ignore. We haven't had a good spying scandal in, a couple of months now, so it's about time for another. A few months ago, the German press, public and politicians alike were indignant when it was revealed the US had tapped Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone. And now this week it was revealed that the investigation into that incident was dropped due to lack of evidence. Well, then the tables were turned after that whole initial scandal was revealed because, just 2 weeks ago, Germany was caught spying on the United States. I mean, that kind of just confirms what everyone had guessed in the first place. And despite the outrage and the launch of a high-profile parliamentary inquiry, there was far more heat than light generated in all of these scandals that have come out so far. So to some, it came as little surprise that Germany was also snooping on a partner nation. In the end, it just seems that isn't this what big countries do? The countries that have the resources, they want to keep up with the hidden agenda going on elsewhere, and so they spy on their neighbors and partners and allies and enemies all alike.
First, it was all about the U.S. spying on Germany, and now it's Germany spying on the U.S.
Yeah.
Who in the U.S. was Germany spying on? Did Did they mention that?
Well, it was embassy staff and people involved in the diplomatic relations, and they spied on them using selectors. Now, what this means is that during mass data collection, there's certain information, certain data points which can be searched from a giant database. And so, using this giant database, the Bundesnachrichtendienst, which is Germany's intelligence service, they could type something in and it would come up with details on this particular person. So not like a big profile, but rather a list of communications, of connections to the internet, of perhaps telephone communications. You can search, depending on whatever your criteria are, whether you want an internet connection for a specific person or a specific IP address. Type in this information, it'll come up with something linked to that. And it turns out that Germany's not only been spying on the US, but also on France. And that was a revelation, I should say, which came out a while ago, but which has been reaffirmed once again in the past couple of weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone is really surprised at this by now. I think we just assume there's dirty tricks going on behind the scenes.
I think no one's really surprised about it, but it's just once it hits the news is when it becomes an actual story. Everyone just assumes it's happening, but when it hits the news, then the company or the countries have to say something about it. So did they have like some sort of big apology message or press release that went out?
Well, the Justice Minister, Heiko Maas from the SPD, he said that there would now be tougher controls on the Bundesnachrichtendienst, the BND, but he did say that the spying ended in 2013 and that the US was not on the Chancellery's list. Now, by the way, remember, the Chancellor's office is in charge of the secret intelligence services. And so the US was not on the Chancellor's list of countries which it's allowed to spy on. So something went wrong behind the scenes, let's say, which means that it was not sanctioned by the Chancellor's office. And so, therefore, it makes you think, well, then how could this happen without the political leaders knowing about it?
Well, there's been so many different sorts of U.S. spying on Germany, and now Germany spying on the U.S. stories that's in the news. This wasn't like Germany spying on the U.S. was one of the big news stories recently, but wasn't there some more spying stories that have happened recently as well?
Yeah, so Germany spying on the United States, that was first revealed about 2 weeks ago. But there's something more recent from this week. I mean, we are this week in Germany, after all. It turned out that a virus, a Trojan, controlled by the NSA or GCHQ, which is the UK's spying agency, was on the laptop of a department chief at the Chancellery, which this particular virus allows the monitoring of all data traffic with that computer by the organization which is in control of that virus, essentially meaning that the NSA had access to significant secret information within the Chancellor's office. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be data that came from Angela Merkel's laptop itself or anything like this, but it could contain secret information, or certainly information which the German government has not made public yet, or would not want to make public. Internal communications. And so it seems extremely, it's just adding to the list, the long list of things which the US is spying on Germany.
Being from the US, I feel like I'm worried about my government spying, because they're all over the news with spy story this and spy story that, and worried about surveillance on US citizens. And now I'm thinking, especially with a past of the Gestapo and Stasi and things like that, Germans might be getting a little worried about their own government as well.
Yeah, well, Germans have always been paranoid, and quite rightly, in a way, about surveillance, because during the GDR in communist East Germany, people were recruited as informants. So you could be in an office working with people who are your friends, and then half of them could be informing the Stasi about their neighbors, about things that they've heard or seen, about people, trying to resist the policies implemented at the time, or doing whatever the government might see as going against the order that they wanted to create. And yeah, a lot of people found out when the wall came down that a lot of people who they knew and who they trusted were passing on information to the Stasi. And of course, the Gestapo before them in Nazi Germany were a brutal secret police service which monitored people's everyday lives. And so, of course, I mean, Germans aren't, hysterically paranoid about what's going on, but certainly there is a kind of, we've learned the lesson from the past that we don't want this to get out of control or to infringe on everyday people's lives.
Is it possible to keep these activities under control when you see story after story, week in and week out, of spy this and spy that? What are they going to do to control it?
Well, it seems impossible to control. I mean, even politicians investigating the NSA spying were told to back off by GCHQ officials, essentially saying that, hey, if you keep investigating us and we don't have control of the information that you're getting, then you could reveal a secret program which could put any of our intelligence sources in jeopardy. And I can understand where they're coming from, but this just goes back to the nature of intelligence gathering, is that how are we meant to keep tabs on it? So, I mean, it's astoundingly convenient how many unsanctioned or downright illegal spying activities stopped after Edward Snowden's documents came to light. Most of the programs we're hearing about now quickly wound down in 2013. How convenient. The people in charge of overseeing surveillance are probably right. There is no need to be worried as the average individual that your internet and phone activities are being seen by someone in an intelligence service. But it seems when it's convenient for these agencies, they overreach and they use the data collected on all kinds of individuals with or without the knowledge of their respective governments. So what is there to reassure the public that if embassy staff are being spied on, that environmental campaigners aren't being spied on, that domestic politicians and their aides aren't being monitored, that business people aren't being tracked, journalists? In fact, what reassurance do we have as to where the line is between acceptable for tracking and not? After all, we've seen that many of these agencies have gone beyond their legal boundaries. But because there's no public scrutiny, we can't put a stop to that. So the very nature of these agencies puts everyone in a bad position. Their work must necessarily remain secret, and this means that some of their biggest successes also take place without the public's knowledge. On the other hand, we cannot know when they overreach. We cannot know when they break the law. We have no way of scrutinizing their activities as the public, and instead we just have to take the word of the few public representatives these agencies have. It seems an uncomfortable relationship between the intelligence agencies and the very people they're tasked to protect is unavoidable.
And now for this week's News in Brief. The Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, made a speech this past Tuesday that was considered very controversial. He spoke on the Holocaust, and he shifted the blame of the Jewish extermination events to Palestine. He said that Hitler only wanted to remove the Jewish population and force them out of Germany. That originally Hitler had no plans to kill the Jews. He said that changed in 1941. The Palestine leader at the time was Haj Amin al-Husani, and he held the title of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. The Israeli Prime Minister went on to say that it was only with al-Husani's counsel that Hitler decided on the route of genocide. Holocaust scholars and politicians from around the world rushed to condemn Netanyahu's remarks the following day, forcing him to gradually take them back. Angela Merkel in Germany said that there was no reason to change its view of history. A huge demonstration set up by the anti-Islamization group, Pegida, took place this last week in Dresden. It was to mark their first anniversary of a 1,000-plus person rally. The numbers for this demonstration were counted at about 15,000 to 20,000 people protesting, and about the same number of people there to oppose the demonstration. This was the largest gathering by both pro and anti-protesters for close to a year, and the tensions were very high. Both sides were noted for throwing firecrackers and other objects that crossed the line at the other side. A few were arrested for violence, and the police were even forced to use pepper spray when they themselves were attacked. Later in the week, a number of political figures, from both the German government as well as others from the EU Parliament, have called out for Pegida to stop the hate-mongering. Sigmar Gabriel, the vice-chancellor, also has called out right-wing groups like the AfD to stop these rallies. Justice Minister Heiko Maas was on German television after the demonstration saying that it was time for everyone to band together and stop xenophobia. Toys are usually made to be fun and for people to enjoy. But Bastian Schweinsteiger is not enjoying nor having fun with the newest toy figurine coming out of a Hong Kong toy company. Schweinsteiger really became famous when he was the vice captain of the German national team last year when it won the World Cup Championship. Now he's the captain of the national team, as well as currently playing for Manchester United. He is a very recognizable face. And that face was recognized on a Nazi toy doll coming out of Hong Kong. It was a pretty close match, and Schweinsteiger and his management team will be taking legal action against the toy company. The toy company says that this figure, called World War II Army Supply Duty doll, is molded after what a typical German looks like. But the face does have a striking resemblance to the football star, and even his first name, Bastian, is on the name tag. Not everyone in Angela Merkel's CDU party is on board with her approach to how to handle and best deal with the refugees coming to Germany. A faction inside the Bundestag that leans center-right politically, called the PKM, or the Parliamentary Circle for Mid-Sized Companies, says that it looks after the interests of both small and mid-sized German businesses. This group makes up just under two-thirds of the current CDU and CSU parliament members in the Bundestag. The chairman of the PKV was very vocal on Germany needing to do something to stop the flow of the never-ending refugees streaming into the country. He says that building some sort of border fortification was not out of the question. Also, guards could be placed at border crossings to turn away travelers deeming originating from safe countries, like the Western Balkans. Merkel and others have been very opposed to any sort of plan that would mean building a wall around Germany's border. Other than it seeming like a very bad political decision around the world, one of the major reasons that people protest a wall being built is they don't think it will be effective. And even if Germany was able to stop a sizable amount of refugees coming in, those refugees turned away would have to find another place to go. And other countries trying to handle them would have a much more difficult situation. Many have heard about Germany, and more specifically Berlin, as being compared to the next Silicon Valley for startups. And that claim is not too far off, as the German capital is very attractive for new businesses, due to the cool culture, low rent prices, and good networking opportunities it has. In fact, Talk Business magazine in the UK reported that some type of new business opens in Berlin every 20 minutes. Something Berlin is also known for is that it can combine all three of the facts I just mentioned in one place. There are numerous shared worker and innovative open office spaces. New businesses can rent out these shared offices for less than getting their own office. They'll have a cool atmosphere to work in, and they'll be surrounded by many other companies just getting off the ground as well. These perks might make you think that Berlin is the place to be in Europe, but they actually came in 7th place in startup rankings by the Digital City Index. Some cities that beat out Berlin this year were London, Amsterdam, and Stockholm. That isn't to say that Berlin is not a good place to start a business, though. In fact, Berlin is starting to lose its wild, wild west image, and now more beginning to think of it in terms of professional or a grown-up city to start a new business. And coming up right now is boom! Destination Germany, where we take you on a journey somewhere in the country that we think is well worth a visit. Whether you're a tourist, whether you're a permanent resident, whether you're a foreigner, whether you live here and you're a citizen. We'll be covering all those well-known sites as well as those little-known corners, the diamonds in the rough of Deutschland. All that matters is showing you that Germany is an interesting and exciting place to visit. And like always, if you enjoyed the destinations that we talk about each week, go to our website, thisweekingermany.de, and we'll have photos of each week's destination.
So if you are looking for a fairy tale destination, then you really can't beat last week's destination. It's kind of an interesting off-the-beaten-path kind of place. We went to the city of Hamelin, known as Hameln in Germany, located in Lower Saxony, and not far from the big city of Hanover. And because the town's small, it's often overlooked as a tourist destination, but you can still have a great time due to a very specific theme that the city has. This place, Hamelin, or Hameln, was the setting for the famous Brothers Grimm story, The Pied Piper of Hamelin, and the town makes use of this kind of status, this fame, everywhere in statues, hotels, restaurants, museums, plays, and festivals. They also have many other fine sites to visit, so next time you're in Hanover, be sure to take an excursion out to Hamelin and have a nice day out in a fairy tale town. So let's get started with this week's destination. Rob, where are we going to this week?
Well, I want to bring you to another kind of out-of-the-way destination that you might not have heard about or read about on any sort of travel websites. Can you tell me anything that you know about the city of Ulm?
Yeah, well, Ulm we went to in a previous destination, Germany. So it's in the state of Baden-Württemberg in the southwest.
Yeah.
And they're known for having a big engineering university and also has the tallest steeple on a church in the world, maybe. And yes, and it was also the birthplace of Albert Einstein, the famous...
Man, I'm happy that you listen and pay attention to all the destination Germany segments that we have. You were spot on.
I make detailed notes.
Yeah, those are all the main those are all the main features of Ulm that I spoke about when we did feature it on the show last time.
So, but now you found something new in Ulm and Ulm herum to talk to us about.
Yep. This week I wanted to tell you about a neat little museum called Museum der Brotkultur. Or in English it is the Museum of Bread Culture.
Brotkultur. That's a good German word, isn't it? Very nice, strong German word. Brotkultur. Yeah, so when we used to have our German quiz show, you did an entire segment on bread, didn't you? I think I remember that in the recesses of my mind. So you really have a thing for bread in here, don't you? In fact, Sven Rudloff also did a piece on German baking. So it is a really big topic. It
is, yes. I really can't express how much I love the bread here. It's wait, I can try. I love German bread.
Oh, well, there you go. You expressed it.
Okay. There's so many different varieties, and it's so easy to buy. Pretty much like on every single corner, you can find a bakery where you can get something that's come fresh out of the oven. It's wonderful. I mean, in other countries, you can get good bread as well. I'm not going to say Germany is the only place you can buy good bread. Some Germans may disagree with me there, but I have to say that bread in the lots of places I have visited around the world, I've been to a lot of different places. I'd say in Germany, you can find the best bread, at least in my opinion.
So tell us about this museum in Ulm that is dedicated to bread culture, whatever that means.
Well, the museum isn't just about bread culture in Germany. It's a bread culture museum. It tells about the history of bread overall, like pretty much back from when bread was invented, all from when it started in human existence. It tells about bread. It shows how bread evolved through the years and how it has influenced cultures and civilizations.
Well, I mean, it's, of course, a very, 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 very old foodstuff, ancient, pre-ancient foodstuff, and it's mentioned in the Bible, and, you know, people still eat it every day today. I mean, of course, it's very significant around the world.
The museum itself bills itself as showing off bread historically, artistically, and culturally. And it also wants to show the feature of kind of like the artisanal way of the people that make the bread. It shows socio-political ramifications of bread and the technological dimensions of bread. It's pretty neat. I mean, they go pretty much all over anything that has to do with bread.
Well, I don't know if this is a new museum, but I imagine it's not as old as the subject which it talks about.
It has been around for a pretty long time. It's not like a museum that popped up in the last couple of years or anything. a father and son originally started it, and they were just thinking about how important bread was, and they loved bread themselves. So they started a museum that was going to showcase it, and this was back in 1955.
Well, they sound like a couple of exciting guys to hang around with. So what's the museum like? So is it like a fine arts museum with beautiful framed brötchen and pastries and things like that? Oh no, don't put pastries in there. That's offensive to bread lovers. What? How dare you?
Well, it actually kind of looks like that. They do have some like glass cases that have bread displays, but it's not actually bread. It's like a statue of bread. They have over 16,000 artifacts on display that tell you about the history of bread, but they don't have any actual bread in the museum.
What?
Nothing in the museum is edible. I guess you could kind of eat anything, but it's not supposed to be eaten. So yeah, there's no actual bread there. And they have also been amassing a huge library that is based on the history of bread. And they have over 6,000 books written that describe bread in all its different forms through the ages.
And all those books are made of bread. It's insane. So now I have a bit of a different picture in my head about this place. I mean, it has serious displays on bread about history and, how socially and culturally important it's been. So, yeah, but it sounds like it could also be a little bit kitsch. I mean, the entire museum is about bread.
What you just said kind of sums it up. They have they do have like a serious issue or serious theme, I would say, that for all the people that visit to visit the museum, and that they talk about food shortages around the world and how it's being combated. And they're also trying to help by people can leave donations, and there's a small €5 fee for going into the museum, and they use some of the profits to fund research to fight hunger around the world.
I also kind of hope that it's kind of like a Willy Wonka style place where like the floors are made of bread and the whole place is made of bread, and they have some crazy bread inventions. But yes, if you want to see what it is actually like, what it really looks like, then you can check out the photos of this and every week's destination on our website, thisweekingermany.de. We have all kinds of photos accompanying every topic in every episode, including the destinations you hear about, so go and check that out. Next up, our German of the Week section, where we put the spotlight on a prominent person from this week's news, who could be a German citizen or even a foreigner who we deem an honorary German, who's had an effect, for better or worse, on German culture, society, or politics.
Our German of the Week this episode is a world record-holding athlete, Marcus Rehm. Rehm had quite a story growing up in sports. When he was just 14 years old, he was really into wakeboarding. And due to an accident in 2003, he tragically lost his leg below his right knee. Though this didn't deter him, and he returned to wakeboarding soon after. He went on to win in 2005 the German Vice Youth Wakeboarding Championship. After this, he decided to completely devote himself to athletics, and he participated in track and field events like the long jump and sprint running. Starting in 2010, he won the long jump 4 years in a row at the German Championships. And in 2012, he won a gold medal at the Paralympic Games in London. In 2014, he set a world record with a 8.24-meter long jump. And now, at the World Paralympic Games in Qatar this past Friday, he broke his own record by jumping 8.4 meters. His goal and dream is to be able to participate in the next Summer Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro.
And that German of the Week brings us to the end of episode number 95.
Which means it's just 5 more episodes to episode number 100, our special episode where we're going to do live in front of a studio audience. You should check out our website, look at our Facebook and Twitter, maybe find out how you can participate or maybe even join in the audience live.
Yes, so you can be in the audience if you want to participate, but you can also listen from home live as well and interact via Twitter and all this kind of stuff. So it's going to be very exciting. We've got lots planned, lots of kind of really cool edited reports going into detail, some fun things, some things to make you think, some interviews in the studio. It's going to be great. So, yes, also remember to check out our website for all of our back episodes, going back all the way to episode number 1, and our social media links are on there as well, thisweekingermany.de. This Week in Germany is produced by Daniel Winter, and it's written and presented by myself and Rob Bishop.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back in just 7 more days with more This Week in Germany.